first, the clever speed. The clever speed came out as 107.8, close to 108. So this is in miles per hour. And this is elite man's average maximum.
Okay.
And you are a bit lower than that. Elite man includes the professional players, college players, and some teaching professionals. So comparing them, your speed is a bit lower.
Yeah.
For your height, you're generating similar clever speed, but the absolute speed is a bit lower. Now, overall swing time is about 900 milliseconds, so 0.9 seconds, which is good. And here, so this is the clever speed, and then this is during the backswing, right? So the peak is occurring about the midpoint of the backswing here, time-wise. But I want to see this more toward the end of the backswing here.
So you want the club to be faster at the top of the backswing?
Yeah, so it goes up this way here, and then reaches peak value, and then quickly slows down here.
And the slowdown, when it slows down, is that transition?
This is the top of backswing here.
That's
so the transition occurs here. The transition occurs here. And then this is the top of backswing. And the benefit of reaching peak value a bit later, that means toward the end of the backswing is fast. Then when you slow down, it will build tension here. And using that on the way down, you can throw. But at the same time, you can have a bit more wrist cock.
Wrist cock, okay.
Yeah. So currently your wrist cock is not enough. So by having initial slow motion, but then build the climax toward the end of the backswing, then so when you have fast motion toward the end, then you have to slow this down, right? Naturally, you will have more wrist cock. So it's okay to bring the club beyond, particularly this is driver, this is the driver, then you can go more than the horizontal line.
And is the wrist cock occurring more like you said it earlier? And then
No.
The wrist cock occurs when
because
the break.
toward the end. Yeah. When you introduce early wrist cock, you tend to use wrist early on the way down. So the build is just more climax.
Okay.
So don't be afraid of throwing more actively so that you can have more speed. Yep. And then 3 and 4 are well separated. 3 is on the way back. 3 is when the lead arm is parallel to the ground. 4 is when the club aligns vertically in the frontal view. You have good separation. That means you are not rushing into a wrist cock. But here, 7 and 8. 7 is again lead arm parallel on the way down, and the 8 is when the club aligns vertical. These two are located quite close to each other. So you need to separate these more. Yeah, when these are close to each other, that means you don't have enough wrist cock. So already at the beginning of downswing, the club is located more away from your body. And then the top view here, if we look at this, and then this large rectangle is the swing plane, which is calculated from the club head motion. So it is aligned toward target. So this is good, but this rectangle shows your hand motion plane.
Okay.
Your hands are moving inward.
Too far left?
So out in, yeah, it's out in. And then the angle difference is about 7.5 degrees here.
Is that too big? Would you want that to be aligned?
So more parallel to each other. When there is this is called the inward direction gap, then you will see that this side is thin here. So actually, the club head can go below the swing plane here in the follow through. Okay, so when we align everything along the swing plane here, you see that at the top you have a large deviation of the club head from the swing plane here. But then in the follow through, you have only this much deviation here.
You want a bigger deviation?
So here in the follow-through, the cleavage briefly goes below the swing plane, and then try to catch up. And then also at the top here, you have a tendency of crossover alignment here.
Across the line at the top?
So in my definition, crossover is, so here's the swing plane here, then imagine a parallel line here. So the hands are here, so the hands are deviated from the swing plane this much. Your club head is deviated a lot more than the hands. It's crossover.
Okay.
So when the club head and hands are on this parallel line, then it's a square alignment. When the club head stays closer to the swing plane than the hands, then it's a layoff.
Laid off.
Yeah. So in this case, it's a crossover.
And ideally, you'd want to.
More or less, it should be parallel to the swing plane here.
And the swing plane is defined how?
The swing plane is calculated from your club head motion.
From the club head
Yeah.
motion. Okay.
So this is basically showing your club head motion here.
So everybody has a different swing plane.
Different. But generally, if we look at the average, or the swing plane, the slope of the swing plane is related to the height of the golfer.
Okay.
So using the height of the golfer, if we calculate the slope, then generally at the setup position, the swing plane passes through the trail elbow.
Through the trail.
So you can say yeah, it's elbow plane.
Okay.
So here in the setup position, you see this is passing through the elbow. That means your slope is reasonable. It's not too steep, it's not too flat. So when your swing plane is reasonable, then typically what happens is during the backswing, you will see that your elbow is moving along the swing plane here, pretty much. So in terms of the elbow path during the backswing, this is good.
Okay.
All you need is let the club head go a bit more and also drop it toward the swing plane a bit more.
So a little more laid off and a little further.
So because of this crossover alignment, what happens is on the way down, you will pull the handle down. The club head goes up and then coming down. And if you draw a straight line parallel to the swing plane, then this club head trajectory is almost symmetric about that line here.
Okay.
So when the club head trajectory appears to be symmetric, then it means you're dragging the club.
Dragging it. Ideally, you'd want it off.
So you are just naturally dropping this and then let it go instead of dragging it here. Part of the reason why you have dragging pattern is because of the crossover alignment. When the club is on this side here, then your hand wants to come this way and then bring the club head. So if you drop the club head a bit more, so have the feel of dropping the club head behind your back, so that more or less go towards this parallel alignment. So the club head stays about here. Then downswing path will be a lot simpler. And you will be able to just drop and throw. But because the club head is slightly crossover, so your hands have to pull it in. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then the swing plane becomes severely outward. Because your club is aligned this way. It's just to bring this down here and then it will go outward here. But in order to change this, you know that this is here. In order to change this path here, your hands have to pull. So this is called the spiral swing. So the club stays above the swing plane here quite a bit, but then gradual motion toward the swing plane. And then in the follow through, it goes briefly, goes below the swing plane. So here, the deviation really small here. It's called the spiral path. And this is partially because of the crossover alignment here. The swing plane is reasonable in terms of slope. It's about 47 degrees, 47.7. And then your hand motion plane slope is about 55. So the difference is about, 8 degrees? It's also normal. So your hand motion plane slope is also reasonable. But the only thing is that your hand plane is a bit more inward. So because of that, you have a spiral path here. And in terms of the center of mass motion, this is the whole body center of mass. This is the center of mass of the pelvis. Both look reasonable here. So the center of mass moves away and it goes up and it goes down and up here. So this low point is below the initial position. So you are dropping the body and then push,
Okay.
which is good.
It's not too much?
It depends on how much you move here and then how much you push.
Okay.
If your push is too much, then later at impact, you will see the so-called unweighting. The ground reaction force becomes less than your body weight. So if that happens, then it's too much. So generally,
And that center of mass is right here?
pretty much in front of the pelvis.
So it moves away, up, and then down.
And this is the pelvis center of mass. It goes away and down and up here. So this is also it's okay. And then pelvis motion here. The lower one is rotational motion of the pelvis. The red line is rotation on the horizontal plane. The blue is lateral tilt.
Okay.
And then the green is forward backward tilt.
Okay.
And then, so this is elite man's average here for the rotation. You are close to the average. Here also at impact, you're close to the average.
For rotation?
The lateral tilt, you go more than man's average, about 20 degrees, which is good.
Okay. That's this way?
This one here, lateral tilt, yeah.
But in the backswing, it's going this way?
Yeah, so in the backswing, right side is higher, left side is lower.
Okay.
And then eventually at impact, left side is higher, right side is lower.
Okay.
So equals above 0, that means left side is higher, right side is lower here.
Okay. And that's fine.
This green line is this motion here. Normally this will show up initially, it's inclined forward here, then slight backward tilt, forward tilt, and backward tilt again.
Okay.
But it's fairly flat here. So you're not using this motion that much.
I'm not using this way too much.
And then the upper one is the translational motion of the pelvis, center of mass. So the green is away and then toward the motion here. So initially the pelvis moves away from the target and then coming back to the initial position, they keep moving toward the target. So this pattern also looks reasonable. The blue is the up and down motion. So it keeps going down and then up and then it reaches a bit higher position than the initial at impact, which is
the vertical line, is that impact?
yeah, it's impact.
That's
Yeah. And then the red line is a forward backward motion. So I want to see a bit more forward motion, backward and forward, but this pattern looks okay. Generally, this is a forward motion from here to here is
moving
backward.
towards the ball?
Yeah. But so this pattern is okay, but the magnitude is a bit smaller. But I think this is okay because the pelvis is now moving in the forward direction that much. That's why you don't have much forward backward tilt. But generally, the pelvis motion is just normal.
Okay.
And then the X factor, this is the separation between the shoulders and hips. So this is X factor. Generally, it keeps increasing, but here we have a change in slope. Okay? And then you're going to the top here. This is the top of action here.
Okay.
Now, this is elite man's average,
Okay.
but you have a lot more separation here.
So my peak has to be at, like ideally the elite.
No, it's not ideally. So this simply shows the elite man's average.
Okay.
So you are separating the hips and shoulders more. Part of the reason is that, again, you did not turn the pelvis, so it was slightly less than elite man's average, right? Here less, also here less. So generally, your pelvis rotation range is a bit smaller than elite man's average. So when the pelvis turns less, but you're turning the shoulders quite a bit. It could be because of the flexibility in your body. And then, so this is when you have the maximum X factor. So you have sufficient separation between the hips and shoulders.
Okay.
And it's a fairly continuous all the way here, although the slope changes a little bit, but because you have large separation, I think this is okay. And then you are not increasing this after that, so this is good. Normally when this goes up more
Too much.
in the downswing, that means the backswing is really poor. But because you have good separation during the backswing, you don't need any more here, so you're just going in the opposite direction. So the X factor pattern is also good. Kinematic sequence here. Kinematic sequence is based on the angular velocity, okay, of the rotational velocity of the body parts. Red line is the pelvis, green is the thorax, blue is the shoulders, and then gray is the arms, and then this line is the club here.
Okay.
And then, so in the backswing, the pelvis reaches peak angular velocity about here. This is a bit too early. Remember, on the first page, I said it's important to have a climax close to the end of backswing. So when that happens, this will go more to the center here.
Okay.
So this will be delayed.
So the hips aren't moving fast enough.
So it's rotating a little bit too early here,
Okay.
and then it slows down here. But if you have, initially it's okay to slow motion here, but then build the climax, and so accelerate and then decelerate. So if you can have the hip angular velocity peak about here, everything will be, all these peaks will be either here or later. So automatically you will be able to build the climax.
So the hip is accelerating too fast, too early.
It appears this is not too fast. Your pelvis motion not too fast, but it's a matter of timing. So don't be afraid of having fast rotation toward the end of the backswing. Yeah. So when you have active motion into the end of the backswing, then you will feel the tension building in your body. So if this is delayed to about here, then everything will be delayed. So then it will be nice. But your transition sequence is good here. So you have relatively long transition phase. This is because we lost the marker, this marker in this phase here. So we interpolated the data. So it looks a little bit, not so continuous here. But actually, this should be okay. So you have good separation, pelvis here, thorax, shoulders, and then arms and club here. Your transition sequence is good. It's because you have a lot of separation between hips and the shoulders.
Okay. So the kinematic sequence looks. Okay.
And then in the downswing, the peak angular velocity of the pelvis occurs about here. And then the thorax and the shoulders a bit later, and then the arms a bit later. But this is okay. So the timing of the pelvis is okay. Now, if you look at this pink line here, this is wrist angular velocity.
Okay.
When it's a negative, that means you have cocking. If it turns to positive, then you have uncocking. So uncocking starts about here.
Is that too early?
You can delay this a bit more.
Okay.
So by having more wrist motion here, and then developing this down cocking here, then what happens is this pattern looks like this. It goes down a bit and then going up here. So, but this is still, this can be classified as delayed release. Now, the only problem is that your wrist angular velocity peak here, this is way below the elite man's average.
Okay.
That means that you are not using your wrist that much. If you can increase the wrist angular velocity more here, then the club angular velocity goes up here. Then you will be able to add a bit more speed there. So you need to use your wrist.
Is that just more force? Or is it just more the
First,
sequence?
you need to have a bit more wrist cut to start with. So if you look at this stick figure here, so this is the end of the backswing here, right? This is the top of backswing. But the arms, with this large rotation of the shoulders, and the arms pretty much aligned this way here. Considering this, you don't have that much wrist cock here. So you can
So the
actually,
club should actually be traveling further.
yeah, it can actually go this much here. And on the way down, you keep that instead of dragging the handle here. If you drag the handle, then the club goes away. So from here, by turning the body, go up, and then because this speed here, the end of the club wants to go this way here. Using that, instead of pushing, just let it go that way, then it has a tendency of down cocking here. Go here, and then as you turn this way, the club tends to move closer to the body briefly. Then you have a down cocking, right? And then with that, when you let it go later, you have a lot more wrist angular velocity. But in this one, so from here, when you pull the handle here, it's not really a casting action, but from here, if you pull the handle quickly, the club head tends to move away, so it has a casting-like effect.
And the wrist motion is more just understanding the mechanics of the wrist, or is it just more the applying the right?
So just to give a more wrist cock in the action, using the momentum of the club,
And then holding the club.
let it go a little bit, and then if you don't fight a lot with the wrist, then it will give more cocking here.
But
And then
right
let it
now
go.
I am not enough wrist cock, and then I'm loading too.
Yeah. So from here, you're pulling the handle down here. With that, because of crossover, you have to pull this down in. That's why you're dragging the pedal. So, practice the release, wrist release more. So we can, work on it a little bit by using the whoosh stick here. So again, you're not generating enough angular velocity in the wrist here. If this increases, then this will go up here. You will be able to have additional speed here. Yep. So you need to use the wrist a bit more actively here. And then the way you interact with the ground here. So at the beginning of the backswing here, you have more force acting on the lead side here, which is good.
That's set up.
Yeah, the green is bigger. So that means you have some sort of motion before that here. With that, you are actively starting the backswing. And then, so about here, you have the maximum push using the trail side here. So timing is really good here. But then soon, so this is the ground reaction force here. Red line is the combined force. Blue is the force acting on the trail side. Green is the force acting on the lead side here. And then, so here, the red line is above one body weight here. The unit is body weight. So initially it's equal, pretty much equal to the body weight, and then it goes above body weight. This phase is called the active push. And after that, the force goes below the body weight. This is called the unweighting. Okay, unweighting. And so unweighting starts here. Unweighting continues all the way, and then the peak occurs somewhere here. And then after the top of action, your unweighting decreases here. So the earlier this happens, the better, which is good. So in your case.
Okay.
So this is good. And then generally about 5 here, you have the your center mass is at the high point here. So then this area above the body weight line, and then this area below the body weight, these two should have a similar area.
Oh, difference.
Yeah, between these two. And then this area below the body weight line should be equal to the area here above the body weight. However, in your case, this is bigger here than this one. That means you have an intentional push here.
With my lead side?
Yeah. So normally we generate this peak force by slowing down the downward motion. In that case, if you draw a vertical line at the peak here, then this area above the body weight, and then this area under the body weight. They should be equal to each other. However, in your case, it appears that this area is bigger than this. That means you have intentional push. When you have intentional push, then the peak occurs slightly late here. So this is typically where we have the peak, but your lead side push peaks here, right? So it's a bit delayed, and then this means you have intentional push. Then you have a jumping-like action here. So then at impact, your ground reaction force becomes less than the body weight here. So this is unweighting here.
That we don't want.
You don't want to have this. So that means that you are pushing a bit too much here. On one hand, we need to generate a good amount of force here. However, if it's too much, then it's more than necessary. Then when you have too much push here, then you have unweighting here at impact.
At
So-
impact, you said you want it at one body weight
Or slightly above.
okay.
So basically, you have a feel of just standing on the leader side instead of
Jump.
quick push and then almost the body jumping. Okay? So when it jumps, then what happens is, this one, the lower graph shows the separation between the center of mass and this arrow here. This is called the moment arm or lever arm. Imagine you have a wrench this way here. You're holding it here and then push.
Yeah.
Then, so here's center of rotation. This is the wrench here, body of the wrench, and you hold it here and then push. That this is the moment arm or lever arm, and then your force acting here.
The longer the moment arm,
The better.
Yeah.
So this separation here is basically moment arm, which is this graph here. And then when you multiply the moment arm and the force, then that gives the torque.
Okay.
And then, so the moment arm becomes a maximum about here, slight after top of action. And then at the top of action, you already have fairly good amount of torque generated here in the frontal plane, this torque here. And then from the top of action to EDA, so if you take average of the torque, it's similar to elite man's average maximum. So this torque is good. But after that, the momentum decreases rapidly here because of jumping-like action. Now the force is passing through the center of mass.
No moment.
Then no momentum here, no torque here. After that, the torque acts in the opposite direction here. So although the rotation is in the downward direction, but the torque acting on your body is in the opposite direction.
And we don't want that.
So this torque interferes with the body rotation. This is because of jumping.
Okay.
Yeah, when you jump, then you tend to drag and jump. So when that happens, then typically the momentum, so the force goes on the opposite side. Here,
So it's working against me?
against the rotation here. And then you will see that the force is passing left side of the center of mass.
So at that point, at impact,
Still,
you
it should be, it should be more this way here.
Okay.
The force should go more this way here. And then because of unweighting here, you cannot control really the interaction with the ground. And then the force decreases quite a bit. Momentum goes in the opposite direction. The torque goes in the opposite direction. So this is because of the too much jump and then pulling the clip. So this is probably you learned when you were a junior player.
Yeah, to try to create speed.
Yeah, normally juniors they tend to jump quite a bit and they try to drag it here. So you still have that one in your swing. But instead of dragging here, you have to drop and then throw. You have to really let it go and throw. So use your wrist more. But if you keep dragging and then your body try to go up here.
So ideally, with the ground force, it would be less jump, more horizontal torque?
No, just stand on your leader side. No need to jump.
No need to
So
push
you
as
don't need
much.
to generate too much vertical force here. So from here, you pull and then your body is going up here. So almost you're down here and then push and then try to bring this way. Instead, go here and then down here and then by pushing and then let it go here. then you're standing on the leader side instead of pull and then the body goes up here. Yeah. So you have to,
And the reason for the jumping up is
because you tend to pull this down. So what happens is when you pull, your body goes, instead, load onto this side, stand on this side, and then by taking step to this side, loading onto this side, you can just throw instead of going here and then.
drag and jump. Okay.
So you have that motion. So you need to feel how to release the wrist, throw instead of pull this down.
You think the wrist is one of the main factors that's causing the other?
So your wrist angular velocity is not enough here because you have this dragging and then jumping here. But in order to use the wrist better, you have to adjust this. Yeah. So throw and then stand on the leader side instead of pull and your body goes up here. So that's what I see in the. So this is the main one probably you need to work on. So usually when you have jumping like action here, then this force is a bit too much. So this force can be actually too much. So if this is when the peak occurs about here, and also this area, positive area, and then this negative area here, if these are fairly equal to each other, that means you are simply slowing down the downward motion and then generate maximum force. But if this area is greater than this area here, from here 5 to this here, that means you have intentional push that causes jumping. Then later at impact you will see unrating here. Yeah.
You think this is the biggest issue?
So have the image of just here and then swing through here instead of
Jump.
So that way you can use your wrist better and you can add more speed.
So you think the using the force and the feet will get the wrists moving better? Okay. It's not getting the wrist better will get the feet moving better.
Because what happens is you're pulling and then your body is going up here. With this, you're dragging. Then for your wrist, there's not much room for anything here. But if you have active motion here, just to have a feel of it going around here, and then from here, just turning around and throw, then you will be able to use this motion here in the throw. But you just go up here and then you just pull down, your body goes up here. So that's what I see here. For this one, it's a bit easy to actually practice this. So you can use a one-arm drill, and then using the left arm and then try to throw here. With right arm, try to throw instead of pull it down here.
So I've had issues with both my wrists. I've had a stress fracture in the top, and I had a fracture in my hand. I had to get surgery.
Playing golf?
Playing golf, yeah. And so I still have, this one I don't think is still quite healed. I still get some pain from time to time. But this one is healed. This was a broken bone.
Is it from hitting the ground or what?
I have no idea. They said stress fracture. They said maybe repeated motion. I'm not too sure.
It's a stress fracture, but when you have impact, then it will be.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. But when I did have this, I played golf just one-handed, just with my left hand. And when I came back to play, I actually played a lot better. I hit the ball a lot better.
Yeah, you need to learn how to release the wrist here instead of drag and then pull this down. So what happens is, if you're going up here, if you can use this almost a similar position on this side here, and from here, if you just throw this, then you're going here. You can add a good amount of arm motion to your body motion. But when you pull this down here, then this arm motion is going with your body motion pretty much. So the arm cannot go that fast. So when you have the feel of really throwing this, then the arms can go a lot faster. But when you go up and try to...
And you say the dragging motion is coming from the crossover.
Dragging is a part of it, yeah, it's crossover, because you know the club is aligned this way. And then in order to bring the club head toward the target, your hand has to pull this in.
Because if I go out, then it will be too far to the right.
And if you just bring this down and then go, then your swing plane will be outward. Yeah. But also, it's a matter of your habit of pulling this while the body is going up here. It's probably from your junior, days. But yeah, so you can use the mobility allowed in the arms more. And it's the pull and then the body, and then arms going together here, rather and throw the arms.
So is that almost like a feel of where the thorax doesn't move, but the arms are moving?
Mm-hmm. So you have to use the whole. You have to move the whole body here. Turn the body, but you should be able to really throw the arms here, as if you are throwing a frisbee here. But currently, what happens is you pull this way here, that your body motion and then arm motion are pretty much going together here. So you cannot really go like this because you're pulling it here. But if you really try to throw this, you can add a lot faster arm motion there. And then with that, you don't have to jump. Just turn around and then stand on the leader side here. So, so let's work on releasing the wrist a little bit and see how it goes. Okay, any questions?
Could I look, I wanted to look maybe at my wrist extension and flexion if that is measured, and just see what you think about
this. This is just measured on the swing plane here.
Okay.
So
I just wondered if you thought maybe I had a lot of extension at impact, because I just off
no, at impact you cannot have extension here. So here, your hand position is reasonable.
Okay.
At impact.
Okay.
So the club is almost vertically aligned here.
Okay.
Your hands here. So this position is actually pretty good.
Okay.
So you don't go this way here.
Okay.
You don't drag it too much. Okay. The position is reasonable.
And I also wondered if we could look at the iron swings, if there's a difference. Or
we don't have iron swing yet. This is still working on it.
Okay.
And then the iron swing, generally you will have a similar characteristics. Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's not completely different. And your irons, swing weight-wise, is a lot heavier than your driver.
Is it? Okay. I do not know. Is that something to look
Your
into?
swing, the pitching weight, swing weight is about like a D5, D6, I think.
Do you think a lighter swing weight would help?
No need to use a heavy one.